Hi, it's Kristen Von Fox, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about the power of dragon's blood ceremonies because I'm excited for opening up our spring season for the first time in 4 years to offer group dragon's blood ceremonies in addition to the one-on-ones and the couple ceremonies I've been doing for the last couple of years. And my journey with the dragon's blood plant, Sengra de Draco, started when I was studying at the Ayahuasca Foundation in the Amazon jungle with the Shipibo people outside of Iquitos, Peru. And it was such a powerful plant medicine journey. I went there to study with the master plants that I didn't have access to in North America. And when I went down to the jungle, I remember sitting with the shaman and he basically said, Kristen, you're the sickest out of everyone. I had a lot of gut issues that I had been working on. I had systemic candidiasis that was in my brain and in my bloodstream. I had leaky gut. I had some thyroid and hormonal issues, and there was a lot going on, and they could see that right away that I was really in need of working with some of these master plants. And while everybody went to have breakfast, I would go up to the room to get breakfast, and instead of food, I would have a cup of medicine with my name on it. And so every morning when I was in the jungle, started off with these Shipibo style medicine ceremonies where I learned how to work with this incredibly sacred medicinal plant. It's a tree sap. It's found from the croton lechleri tree, and it is incredibly potent, very high in antioxidants, and is really good for the skin. It boosts collagen growth internally and externally. And out of all of the cultures that I've read about and studied with, the Shipibo people were the group of individuals, these indigenous peoples, that learned how to work with this as a ceremonial, purgative, traditional medicine. And oh my goodness, it began to change my life because I had some issues with parasites. I had some issues with leaky gut. And once I began to come home and study this, there was so much research done in it. I have a couple articles that I've written on it where I cite these research projects with it, and I have them on my website that I link below. So if you're interested, you can read more about it there. But it was so powerful, not only for healing the body, for healing wounds in the body, for healing leaky gut, digestive issues like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. It was also incredibly powerful for releasing parasites, which was something that I struggled with. And there's a lot of parasite cleanses out there, but none were as effective and as powerful of this particular one, especially when used in the traditional Shipibo style ceremony. And what I found after years of doing soul retrieval and also doing exorcism and psychopomp work where I escort souls that don't belong here and soul fragments that have gotten stuck or attached to people and escort those to the afterlife so that they can find their own healing. I found that dragon's blood was an incredibly potent and powerful plant medicine that also assisted in helping people clear out these energies, clear out these entities. It was good for resolving energy blocks, bad luck, stagnant energies, health concerns, and also release those energies and really help that person lift the brain fog, lift depression, and lift blocked energies so they can feel bright and vibrant and more aligned with themselves. And every time I find that I have a really intense appetite or that I'm eating more than I think I should and think I might have some parasites, I've written some articles on this, how to know when you have parasites as well, that are linked on my website, and you can also read about them there. I found that dragon's blood, Sengra de Draco, was incredibly powerful for clearing these energies. And so I have been doing circles and been working with this medicine for the past 8 years and had some incredible results that I wanted to share with you about some of the cases that I've worked with and a little bit about how these ceremonies work, because I'm opening up these spring ceremonies once again in the Hudson River Valley in upstate New York. So one of the things that I've noticed with my clients is there's a huge transformation of stagnant energy, depression, and brain fog that becomes lifted. The person becomes really clear. They have incredible results just within moments after the ceremony. Some people feel a little bit discombobulated for a couple hours, but once they come out, again, it's non-psychoactive. This is a protected, beautiful plant medicine that even the FDA has done research on for recovery from cancer treatments that wreak havoc on the gut and the intestines. They've even used dragon's blood to help heal cancer patients after they have been through radiation treatments. So when I started to work with these medicines, I began to see that my clients were having the veil lifted of brain fog, feeling more present in their body, helping them to release negative attachments and negative relationship patterns in their life. One of my clients, I remember we were helping to clear out some energy of a breakup, a divorce, and after the ceremony, it felt like there was a bond between her and her ex-husband that was severed, that toxicity was released. We even had an encounter during the ceremony where we felt like that negative energy or presence from him came into the room and literally tried to reattach to her as we were releasing it. And we were finally able to sever that connection. She felt free, she felt aligned, she felt full of life after that ceremony. I've had other clients who have had weird experiences, and I love the weird experiences. This is what it's all about, like the spiritual experiences that you can't make up, where while he was struggling with the purgative medicine, because oftentimes the parasites don't want to leave, right? They found a comfortable place, they found a host that they can feed off of, but they don't necessarily want to leave because the unknown is scary. And of course, they're fighting for their life by feeding off of yours. And they say that 92% of people have physical parasites in their gut system. And this medicine is incredible for killing off all of the life cycles if you do it within the entire cleanse cycle, which I'll talk about in just a minute and why that's so important. But I remember while he was struggling with this thing that was right there coming to the surface, but hadn't fully left him yet, I saw this like shadow man pacing behind him in the corner of my living room in Brooklyn where I used to do these ceremonies. And I remember just like kneeling down with him. I was like, who's that right behind him? He's like, oh my God, you see him? I said, yeah, you've pissed off an energy within you. You got to lean into this process. You're almost there. Let's get this thing out. Let's finish this work here today. And he was able to have that big purge that released that energy and its attachments to him. And once that happened, the energy moved from him and into the bucket, and this gray energy, that shadow man, released into the bucket, and he was clean and clear. And I remember saying, oh, you did it. You're so clean now. I can see it. And he's like, oh my God, I felt it. Like went right into the bucket and now I feel free. So that was one of the experiences that we had in the group that others could see. There was another woman who came into the circle and everybody was inching away from her. Nobody wanted to sit next to her. And I could see, because I do have the gift of seeing energies and some things that aren't belonging to the original person on the scene. And I could see that she had this very full gray aura with lots of different beings. It almost seemed like she had like ants crawling all over her of energies that weren't hers. And people were picking up on that in their own way and were inching away from her. No one wanted to sit next to her in the group. And after the cleanse, she looked like the veil of gray had been lifted off of her and her energy was clean and clear and bright and she was glowing. And everybody in the group, everybody in the sharing circle at the end said that her energy changed so much. They now felt attracted to her, like they wanted to sit near her, they wanted to engage with her, whereas before they were kind of afraid and were avoiding her at all costs. And I even shared my reflection of how I was seeing it. And people were like, yeah, that's exactly in a way how I was experiencing it too. And she had this validation of clearing those energies so that people would flock to her and feel more called to her and her energy. So it is important to do multiple treatments, 2 to 3. Sometimes people need more, but everybody needs at least minimum of 2. And the reason being is because physical parasites have multiple generations that lay eggs. It's very important to do the 2 to 3 treatments within a certain period of time because you want to illuminate all generations of parasites. So they'll grow up, they'll lay eggs. You can kill the adult parasites, but if you don't do the second round to kill and release the eggs that have hatched and become a new life cycle, then you'll continue to have that life cycle and you won't actually feel the real amazing benefits. Of course, there's so many benefits from just doing a single treatment, but you get the maximum benefits and the best results by doing the 2 to 3 ceremonies. And so I do offer my ceremonies as sessions of 2, one weekend and the next, so that you can get the full treatment. I had one woman who felt great and she just said, this is so good, I feel amazing, this is exactly what I needed, but I don't want to come back. And so I remember her backing out the last minute, and I just, gently let her know, I really want to support you to have the full cleanse. The reason that we do the 2 is this reason. And she said, I feel great, I don't need another one, I'm perfect the way I am. And so I remember the day after that ceremony, she reached out and she says, yep, the eggs hatched and I feel those symptoms all over again. You were totally right. I should have come back. And she ended up doing other different parasite cleanses with another practitioner and had to do multiple rounds. So I say this because I really want my people to get the best results, and it is really important to do the full cleanse or the parasites do come back, especially if that's the reason that you're doing these ceremonies, although there's other benefits of doing them if you're not just focusing on the parasite cleanse. One of the reasons why it's really important to do the 2 sessions is that sometimes the things come up to the surface, but they don't want to go. And that's the nature of parasites. That's the nature of squatters that don't want to leave a house that they have infiltrated and want to stay in because that's the safe place. That's what they know. They're afraid of the unknown and they don't necessarily want to leave. And sometimes those sins come up to the surface, and my job is to make sure that you clear all of those energies, that together we do this work so that you don't have to take it home and struggle on your end, so that you have the portal and the safe space to release what you need to release, do that deep inner work, and come out feeling amazing on the other side. And I've had a couple different clients who have had some things that came up to the surface. They were very aware and in tune with through the course of that week. And in the second ceremony, finally released it, finally got that thing out of their system and into the bucket so that they could feel the best results. And here's an example. I had a client who was really struggling, and sometimes these things become negative attachments. They're really heavy on our energy field and they don't want to go. And in this case, she was really struggling with this, and my job was to coach people through this plateau that can happen and to assist them in really releasing and remediating these energies from their field. And I remember her just wanting to give up and not wanting to be in the process anymore, participate fully. And I was like, just lean in. You're so close. You're right there. And finally, she did that last push. It took all of her focus and her energy to move through that last bit of the purge. But once she purged into the bucket, we saw a literal object. It was probably a liver fluke. People have worms in the bucket all the time, weird objects and energies and specific parasites that come out, but she had a creature that looked like a big slug that was about that big and gray, and it came out of her. Again, I'm pretty sure it was a liver fluke. And once it came out and into the bucket, she was bright and shining and light, and she was like, oh my God, what was that? And we could poke it in the bucket. It was a physical thing. I'm not just talking about, we had this a vision. It was not a vision, guys. It was like a real thing that came out, a parasite, a physical parasite. And we poked it with a stick, and once she got that out, we could see that her energy was light. That slug thing was that heavy thing that was keeping her and her light hidden and down and suppressed. And once that thing came out, it was like the sky was the limit and her energy increased. I've had a lot of clients who have come to me saying that it lifted the brain fog, it lifted all of their cravings, it helped them to feel more aligned with who they are, it helped them to get to their next level, it helped to purge negative relationships and relationship cycles. I've had moments where I have been in ceremony, and this happened just a couple weeks ago because I also participate in these ceremonies. I do them more privately before I open up my groups, but I do my own work. And my partner was holding space for me while I was having one of these purgative cleanses. And all I can say is it felt like there was a big, giant, like long-fingered hand that was in my chest and strangling my heart space, especially from the back. I felt like it wrapped around. And I had a purge into the bucket where it felt, and I could see these like long, gnarly, brown, gray hand fingers rip off from around my heart and move into the bucket. And my partner was across the room and he was drumming for me. And at that moment, he looked at me and he said, what just left your body? I saw it go into the bucket. I saw this thing be ripped out of you and go right into the bucket. I said, yeah, that was the hand that was strangling my heart. And I saw a visual of it while it was happening. Again, this is a non-psychoactive plant, so most people don't have big, huge visions, but people do see things and have those visions when the thing is releasing. Like, for example, I've had purges where I see something specific, like my sister bullying me as a kid, like that came out into the bucket once. I've had moments where I saw an old relationship that I had cords that I wasn't aware of that came out and into the bucket. So when people have that purge, a lot of times there is a direct correlation to the thing that they know they were letting go of that moves through as a result of these powerful plant medicine ceremonies. And so I wanted to share this with you today to inspire you to do your cleansing this spring. Spring and fall are the seasons for it. Even in traditional Chinese medicine, we say that springtime is the season where the liver wakes up and where we want to purge toxins. They come up to the surface. And this plant medicine ceremony is one of the most powerful ways. It's a daytime ceremony. I do have people arrive in the space and stay for about 8 to 10 hours. It is a full day event, and people feel really good after the ceremony, especially the next day once they've slept and they've rested. They feel powerful transformations. You can check out some of the testimonials and some of the articles that I've written on this topic. There's a lot of cited sources that I have because I've done a lot of extensive Western research of this medicine after it came out of the jungle, and there's a lot of work that's been done around it scientifically. So I'm proud to announce that ceremonies are now open, and if you're interested, you can reach out to me. I have some instructions about how to register for the next ceremonies, and of course you can always reach out and ask me if you have any questions, and I hope that this helps to explain a little bit about how these ceremonies work and how they're very powerful and transformative. So love you all, and I hope to see you in some of my Dragon's Blood ceremonies soon.